The watch should be right down...
It won't come off.
That's the Omnitrix!
I found it.
No, I found it first!
On occasion, this show will truly show us how creative it can get, and almost every one of these Elseworld events are phenomenal in the series, with expansive world building, abstract approaches to iconic moments, and a wide array of new aliens to sink yourself into. The sad part is, none of them are officially canon nor part of the main timeline of events, unless you count the 2016 Ben 10's poor attempt to unify all universes in one story as a moment to make all of this one large connected universe.
What the hell is even that?
Because I do not. Anyway, there's a confusing aspect to this one in terms of how it happens and how it's told, but it's embedded in a rather enticing concept, so let's break this episode down and I'll tell you what I think by the end. So, if you remember the pilot episode and the conclusion of season 1, you'll basically know the plot of this one. The shift in how events unfold here, however, is bizarrely Ben remembers possessing the Omnitrix and is attempting to walk himself back through the day as he did before to try and retrieve the watch again, whilst this is all narrated to us and told from the pages of a comic book.
What?
Confused? Let's dig deeper. We begin with our intrepid heroes caught in a daylight robbery at a gas station where things appear to be normal. However, as Ben goes to slam the dial, the watch is no longer there. He grows increasingly concerned and forgets where he is for a minute trying to find the watch and comes under attack. Gwen and Max move in quickly to try and take out the thugs, and once they're dealt with, they carry on with their day, with both Max and Gwen telling him that this is their first day of the summer together. It's here as well that Ben confirms he remembers everything they've endured throughout the summer so far and references the watch by its name, confusing Max as to how he would even know.
Oh, how convenient!
We cut away briefly to find that the battle in space is concluded with the watch being sent to Earth, but Vilgax has not been harmed in this version of events.
Fuck.
Move back to Ben, who's arrived at the campsite and sees the watch crashing overhead. As he gets closer to it, it's revealed that Gwen found the watch, and now Ben is pissed.
Comedy.
She does the same thing that Ben did before her, just messing around with the watch for a little bit, and we follow a similar pattern right up to her eventual showdown with the mother drone in the campsite, where she defeats it with Ben's help. The next day, Ben opens up about how he feels inconsequential now, knowing how Gwen felt this whole time whenever he got to rush off and soak in the limelight, and he feels he squandered his chance with the watch to truly do something good. As Gwen tries to show some support for him, Vilgax bursts in like the Kool-Aid man and captures her and makes off back to his ship, with us cutting right to the end of season 1 where he goes to reacquire the watch. Ben doubles back to Max and undergoes the same revelations that Gwen did in episode 13 of last season, and they break into Villy's ship in the same manner as before, where this time Vilgax's machine to extract the watch works. And as it flies off of Gwen's wrist, we assume it's soaring over to Ben, but it misses and lands on Max.
Yes! 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 Yes!
As tensions escalate, Ben tells Max to go upgrade, and he does just that and gets them off the ship, with them besting Vilgax, and we close on the narrator telling us how fun it is to see new stories. Now, I may be wrong here, but I believe I read somewhere a long time ago that this episode was done after many fan requests that wanted to see Gwen with the watch, and that it was directly inspired by the Marvel What If comics way back when that would put spins on popular characters, a concept of which you can see explored on Marvel's What If on Disney+, where we see a lot of what if scenarios for Peggy Carter, Doctor Strange, T'Challa, Spider-Man, Thor, and Ultron, just to name a few if you're curious for more tales like this. But in the world of Ben 10, this was highly unexpected and a welcomed addition to the show, even if it was just a what if scenario. It should destroy the experience when you realise that this has no bearing on the larger narrative, but thankfully with how imaginative it was and how big of a lesson it was for Ben in this one too, it makes me wonder whether or not we should have had more of these. Now, to get something out of the way real quick, there's one part of the story that's always confused me, and that is, how did Ben remember? Please do put your theories in the comments down below, but are we looking at a Doctor Strange situation here, where your dreams are in fact gateways into another reality, and that this is all in his mind but actually happening somewhere else? Who knows? There's been much debate for the longest of times about this, and I'm just going to put it down to it happened because the script said so. I would love a more definitive answer to this one though, as Ben pointed out specifics that shook Max and was able to assist Gwen throughout. So could it be a dream deal or something else entirely here? Aside from that, there's much to consider and appreciate from this episode. Firstly, and spoiler warning for a bit further into the series, but if Gwen had retained the Omnitrix in this universe, could she have used it in conjunction with her magic abilities? How powerful would she have become compared to other versions of herself? I could see an Ultron/Scarlet Witch situation from this, where she becomes incredibly overpowered. However, if there is a universe where it did follow Gwen keeping the watch and merging it with her magical abilities, given her generally good nature deep down, I doubt it would have led to anything overtly villainous, until we get to Alien Force and Ultimate Alien, where it's revealed that Gwen is in fact an Anodite, and that's almost like a phoenix force inside of her that just wants to flourish, but could become a larger threat to the universe. It's an entire story that leads Ben and Kevin to take drastic actions against her until she learns to tame the power within herself, but to throw the Omnitrix into that, what could she have achieved? Or would she have not had a use for her magic at all? Then consider this, had Gwen kept it, or in another universe, she still has it, Ben doesn't possess any mana inside of him, nor is he an Anodite, so he couldn't do anything for the team without the watch, essentially reducing his role in this to the point of being redundant.
You get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
Looking at the smaller details to this one, however, it goes without saying that Vilgax is a lot smaller here, as he wouldn't have needed repairs or medical assistance, as Xylene never took a pot shot back at him in this version of the timeline. This seemingly made him easier to combat for Max too, as he was still his natural size that we saw in the flashback sequence from episode 1 of the season. Then, I love that by the end of this episode, this essentially becomes Max's universe, as Xylene intended in our main timeline, revealed in the season 3 finale when she thawed out and located Max. So once you've gotten to that point in the series, this one feels a lot more rewarding, though I do have the question for what became of Xylene in this version of events. Then there's Gwen. The lass got her chance with the most powerful device in the universe, and she possessed a natural affinity to it, being able to achieve certain things as both Heat Blast and Diamond Head that Ben points out he never could. Whilst I wasn't a massive fan of how both Grey Matter and Forearms looked in her iterations, it was still refreshing to see the Omnitrix on someone new for a change, where we could at least gauge how capable they would be with it before they lost it. Another detail of which I do admire, as she wasn't the wearer for long, so removing it from her was that much simpler, because Vilgax tracked her down within a day, whereas Ben had weeks to get acclimated with his new toy, and Vilgax even says as such in episode 13 when attempting to remove it, that it is merged with his own DNA. Then I think we'll end by mentioning the conversation between both Ben and Gwen in the bowling alley that brings up Ben's feelings about this and what he's learned in such a short time. I've gone on multiple times about Ben's ego continually tripping him up throughout the series, but a fact that I often forget is the lad said back in the pilot episode that if he could figure out the watch, he could do some real good for the world. He's shown here to clearly still possess that desire, but he's just become overzealous at times due to being a kid, and we're all guilty of being inherently selfish at times when we have a good day, or in this instance, a pretty fucking bad one. I love that Ben accepts his fate here though, and is willing to support Gwen and Max later on in their actions, and I honestly wouldn't mind revisiting this universe just to know the type of man he went on to become. Overall, this was a good time, with a lot of frustrating mysteries and questions coming out the back of it, but like Master Yoda, sometimes the best mysteries are left unspoken and up to speculation. That's all I've got for this one though, folks. I appreciate you stopping by. If you like this, hit the thumbs up and subscribe as I continue my review series for this animated classic, and until next time everyone, take care, and I will see you soon.